Cool. So for the sake of the recording, welcome to the Momentum Masterclass. Now, this was born as a result of me realizing my two worlds colliding. So those of you who know me know that I work in intuition and also education. And at one point I realized, because we just launched a business momentum program, I realized that what we were teaching there, what we were covering in that first session, and I'm co-hosting it. So when I was having meetings with my co-host, what we were planning for the sessions coming up was actually really similar to the work that I'm doing in education and child development and learning and all of that. And the other thing that that really sparked this was me seeing the amount of people who are kind of at that point of almost giving up on themselves, right? Of almost giving up on their dreams, on their life, on what they envisioned. You know, they kind of, oh, I thought life was going to be like this, and it's not like that. And there's kind of this crossroads that's happening, right? Where people get to this point and they go, do I keep doing what I'm doing? Because it's getting me somewhere, you know, am I actually like really that close to that oasis that just one more month, one more step and I'll be there? Or am I going totally the wrong way and I actually need to totally pivot, change everything and start again? So you know, as I'm watching this, I go, we actually know, right? We know when we're on the right track. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to share this with you because there's a part of you that does know. There's a part of you that knows. And I want to share what I've discovered in my life. I want to share what I've discussed with other people and the conversations that we've had around this. And I also want to share the key principle, I guess, the key thing that's been really present for me about life lately. And that is the principle of momentum, the fact that everything's in motion all the time, which means that everything is always either growing or it's dying, right? It's either expanding or it's actually contracting. And that's an important thing to realize, because sometimes you might think that you're just plodding along, right? You're just coasting, and if you're doing stuff, well, then you must be getting somewhere, right? That's the thought. Who's thought that? Like, if I'm doing some things every day, then I must be getting somewhere. I have. I absolutely have. And I can see about half of the people in the gallery have. Right. I've been in that space where I thought, well, as long as I get some things done, then I must be moving forward. Right. And that's not necessarily true, because if you're not seeing the stuff that you're heading towards getting closer in some way, and it can be deceptive, we'll talk about that, then potentially your dreams are actually dying. Right? Potentially you're actually heading in the wrong direction. Now, there's a bit of a trap. There's a bit of a trap that happens in the human mind. And that is that sometimes when it feels like we're getting somewhere, we're actually not. We're actually looping. And we'll talk about the concept of your thoughts being loopy, right? A loopy having that double meaning where it's loopy, but it's also crazy, right? So sometimes when you think you're getting somewhere, you're actually not. When it feels like you must be doing something, you're actually just looping around the same diameter circles. And then other times when it feels like you're getting nowhere, you're actually getting really close to where you want to get. And there's good reason for that. And there's actually scientific reason for that, which I'll touch on without going into anything too deeply or too, you know, we've got an hour or so together. So, but I will touch on the scientific reasons for it. So here we are, Momentum Masterclass. So of course, we're going to be talking about creating momentum. Like one, how do you know which direction is the right one? How do you know where to put your energy? And then once you've chosen the direction, once you know that you're going in the right direction, how do you then build good momentum towards the thing that that you want to expand in your life, right? And also as a result of that, sometimes it means that some things constrict in your life, that some things actually die off. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, I just want to get a bit of a feel for who we've got here, because some of you I know a little, some of you I know very well, and some of you I don't know at all. So I'd love for everyone to just pop in the chat where you are, just so we can connect. Zoom is awesome for connecting together. And at the same time, it's not quite the same as being in person. So I want to create a bit of that feel like we're actually meeting and going, oh, where do you live? Where's home for you? And what do you do? All those conversation starters, what's the weather like at your place? Must be really cold. No, I'm actually in Bali, all that kind of stuff. So just tell me and everybody else where you are, and just everybody take a moment to read through the chat, take a look at who's posted the location, and take a look at them on the screen as though you're actually chatting with them. So I'm just going to pause for a moment. North end of the Gold Coast, UK, Brisbane, Carolina, Magda, also Brizzy, UK. Excellent. Sydney, Janie, hi. Cape Town, South Africa, from Tanzan. Hi, Tanzan. Beautiful. Really lovely to just make that connection and go, okay, here we are in this space learning together. So momentum, and how do we create momentum, and how do we create momentum towards the right thing? So I've already mentioned that everything's in motion, right? Everything is naturally wanting to grow. And when it stops growing, there's an obviousness when it starts to die off, right? And it's not bad. It's just part of the natural cycle, right? But we're going to talk about the growth part of the cycle at the moment, just for the purpose of this masterclass. So what I want to start with is I spoke about the fact that my worlds of intuition and child development and learning are sort of coming together. So I want to talk about the fact that I want to talk about children, right? So I'm sure every single one of you can imagine or see or remember watching a baby, a toddler, a young child of maybe 3 or 4 years old. Can everyone bring that picture into your mind? Can you see it? Can you feel it? Can you maybe remember it? Yes, we've got nods. Right. And if you're watching the recording, do that, right? Actually see that so that you can be here with me. You can be inside my head, inside my mind. So when you're watching a child, there's this development that happens naturally. Right? So they come into the world, they're exploring their muscles, they're watching their hands, they're learning how to make their hands move, right? So at first it's really kind of all over the place, then they get a bit of control of their muscles. And there's actually some specific automatic, like inherent movements that happen that develop those muscles and that develop the brain networks, neural networks around the body. And it's like each step naturally leads to the next, right? So once they get familiar with what their muscles do and how to control them, then they start to kind of do random movements, and then they go, oh, I rolled over. So then they start to gain control over that. And then they eventually start to maybe sit up a little bit or get up on their elbows, crawl around, all those different things. And eventually they see something over there across the room and they go, I want that. And they start to head towards it. right? They're not Googling, how do I walk? They don't go to university. They don't need to be taught. Right? It's a natural process. It just happens. They just do it. And then eventually they see something that's up higher, right? And they go, oh, I want that. And they go for it. They just go directly for it, right? That's it. That's all they do. Now compare that with yourself as an adult. So you want something, right? And let's face it, the moment you want something, there's energy that starts to go towards it, right? Because you've thought of it, you've had an idea. So you go, here I am, and I want something. So immediately there's energy that starts to head towards that thing that you want, whether it's a physical thing, whether it's a way of being, whether it's a kind of lifestyle that you'd like, right? It creates a tension. And what happens the moment tension's created is that the universe actually creates momentum, natural momentum towards it, because tension wants to be resolved. When you stretch a rubber band, it wants to constrict, right? If you stretch a spring, it wants to head towards resolution of that tension. So there's immediately a natural momentum that's created. But what do? We stop it. Right? As adults, we stop it. And we stop it in ourselves, but we're also stopping it in children, right? So I won't go into the child stuff, but to give you a very brief example, I see parents doing it all the time. The child is doing something that I know, with my level of expertise in the area, I know is great for that child's natural development. It's the natural momentum taking place. Right? But the parent goes, oh, no, 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 because that's dangerous. You could hurt yourself. Right? And they're suddenly interfering with that child's natural growth and development and their ability to create results later in life. Now, we as adults do the equivalent of that in everything, every single thing that you go for. So the moment you have an idea, there's already momentum going towards it. Right? The momentum is natural. But then what happens? This kicks in. The loops, the loopy mind, the crazy mind, right? The crazy mind kicks in. And this is how the loopy mind works, right? It goes, there's something that happens in the environment, or you have a thought or an idea, and it creates an emotion. There's a feeling. Now, what's an emotion? An emotion is simply a chemical cocktail, right? So hormones released and you feel something in your body. And then the moment you feel that, you're looking for a reason for it. You're going, what made me feel that? And if it's a pleasurable emotion, you go, I want more of that. So I've got to find what caused it so I can have more of that. And if it's an unpleasant emotion, you go, I've got to find what's caused it because I don't want any more of that. Right? So something happens, there's a stimulus, whether it's internal, an idea, a thought, something that you might want, something that you might get excited about, or something that you hear, or something happens, right? A conversation, whatever. The weather suddenly goes rainy, right? And you have an emotion in relation to it. Now that emotion, that chemistry only lasts for 90 seconds, right? So that's nothing. Right? We could just go, oh, okay, here we go. There's anxiety, there's fear, there's joy, there's happiness, there's excitement, whatever, right? And that's it. It would be done with. But it's not what happens, because by default, what we do is we assign meaning to it and we begin to analyze it, right? So the loopy mind goes, here's this emotion. Now, what caused it? Why is this happening? And all the other stuff. Just take a moment and remember an emotion that you felt today. So think of something that you felt today. Remember something that you felt today, and then remember, where did your mind go with it? What was the immediate thought the moment after you felt it? I'm just going to be silent for 30 seconds or so, just to give you a moment to do that. And yes, pop it in the chat if you, so. Catalina, memory of the last time I felt it. Yep. So you're suddenly down memory lane, right? Remembering. What else? What are some of the other thoughts? I'm just going to pull up my chat so that I can see it because it's hidden from me at the moment. Gratitude, started thinking about what caused it. Yes. So if it was pleasant, it's like, oh, yeah, what is it? Right. So now I want more of that. Right. So you're suddenly going, oh, okay, I'm going to focus on getting more of this thing, whatever caused it. What else? I can see people, yeah, felt nervous, spiraled into self-doubt. Yep. There's all sorts of stuff that happens. Like, for example, mine, oh, hang on, anxiety and overwhelm and getting stuck in the stories. Yeah. So then all of a sudden the stories come about, right? I had an emotion come up because I sent off a message and I realized that this person hadn't replied for a number of days, right? I suddenly kind of went, oh, I never heard back. So of course, where did my mind go? Why didn't they reply, right? Should I have blah, blah, blah? Did I say something wrong? What are they thinking? And all of a sudden I'm making up all these stories about what could or could not have happened, right? And of course, it's all based on the past. Now, the thing about this is that every single decision, which then leads to action, is an emotional decision. So what's happening is we have emotions because that's what happens. We will react to the environment and our physical being and our hormones talk to us in emotions, right? So an emotion is like a physical expression of a thought or of an experience, right? So we get an emotion, but then we start to think about it. And what happens? Those thoughts then lead to secondary emotions. So to use my example, someone didn't reply to my message. I've realized it, so I feel an emotion. So all of a sudden I'm referencing all the times when people didn't like me or I thought they didn't like me, right? So I'm thinking, oh, they're probably one of them. And what could I have done better? What could I have done? Maybe I shouldn't have messaged them and maybe, I've offended them. And of course, every single one of those thoughts, what happens? The moment I have any one of those thoughts, another emotion comes up, right? So all of a sudden I'm reinforcing my emotions. I'm creating another emotion, which then leads to more thoughts and more emotions and loopy, right? Totally loopy. It's crazy. It's totally crazy because every single one of those thoughts is based on the past. It's not based on the future. It's not based on what I want in life. It's not based on my visions. It's not based on what I'm going for. It's not based on the projects that I'm working on and going, okay, what's the best way to what's the best step to take towards that? It's none of that, right? So now I've got these looping thoughts and emotions going blah, blah, around and around in circles. And then when I go to make a decision, remember, every decision is an emotional decision. I'm making the decision from that place. And then, of course, I'm taking action from that place. So when you make decisions from these secondary emotions, which are based on thoughts that are referencing the past, guess what? You can only ever recreate what you've already experienced. Right? Because that's where your decisions are coming from. Right? You're referencing what you already know. You're projecting that onto here. So it's like you're taking a movie from the 1920s, you're bringing it here, and you're going, oh, okay, this is what must be happening. So how would I react to that? This is what I must do, right? It's the reactive way of doing life. And that's a problem. Why is it a problem? It's a problem because when you live your life reacting to conditions and circumstances, because that's what it is. This is how this whole thing started, right? With an emotion that's a reaction to something in the environment or an idea that you have, right? So when you're living life reacting to conditions and circumstances, you're locking yourself into a bubble. You're locking yourself into a certain diameter circle, right? So that every single action that you're taking is actually recreating your past. It can never do anything else. It can never lead to anything different because you're basing everything on what you already know. So how can you create something new that you don't know yet based on that? It's never going to happen, right? It's a scientific fact. It can't happen. The other thing that happens when people go, oh yeah, I've got this idea, I want a different life, I want a different lifestyle, I want to start a business, I want to do this stuff that I've never done before, right? Is that fear kicks in. So then they start to kind of take this indirect approach towards it, right? So they'll start to do things that they think they have to do to get there, right? Again, based on the past. And normally, again, I won't go into it, but just a little insight into child development. Normally, it's actually based on what worked with a strategy that worked with their parents when they were less than 6 years old. Right? We just bring that strategy forward and we go, oh, okay, that's how the world works. That's what I learned as a child. It worked back then, and we just continue to repeat that same loop, right? So we're applying the same strategies to everything. Who's heard the saying that how you do one thing is how you do everything? Yeah, okay, many of you have. That's where it comes from, right? Because your strategy for life was created when you were less than 6 years old. You looked at your environment back then and who was in it, and you went, oh, it works. So let's say I actually have a client who I've got a really great example, right? Whose father was a doctor, is a doctor. And she got attention when she got sick. So here she is trying to grow her business. And she's actually quite successful up to a point. Right? But the moment she starts to make a certain amount per year, which is, not bad. I think it's about 250,000 a year. She gets really sick, right? Because when she reaches this point, she suddenly wants the support of the masculine, or something happens, right? I won't go into the details of it, but there's something that happens in her psyche that goes, I want daddy's attention, right? Or the equivalent of. And she suddenly gets really, really sick. So her business starts to die off. And then she gets better. She kind of kills it off so she can give herself space to get better, gets better, builds it up again very quickly to the same level, and then gets sick again, right? So before we started working together, that was her cycle for 20 years. And, we've now uncovered that, and I think it's about 4 years since we started working together, and now it's got momentum, right? Now it's got continued growth. Because the thing about momentum is that, as I said at the start, it's always there. It's nature, right? Nature wants to grow. So the moment you have an idea for something different to what you have now, it's already growing. It's already developing a natural growth pattern. It's already got momentum going towards it. And it's only those thought and feeling loops that stifle it. It's like the pot. You know how plants get pot bound, where they'll grow to, if they're in a pot, they'll grow to a certain size, and then the roots just keep growing around the inside of the pot. Does everyone know what I'm talking about? Or is this just mine? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that's what we do, right? We go, oh, I want to create something different to what I've had before. But then we literally pot bound the thing, right? Not a great way to do life, because what happens as a result And I'm going to share screen just to give you a little bit of a visual. And while I scratch my back, because I can feel a mosquito on it. So that's the reason for the picture that I have on the cover of this masterclass, right? Because I've seen so many people just so despondent, like this first guy in that picture, right? People just kind of going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I really, and I've been there. I've been at that point where I was like, I feel like I'm doing stuff all the time. I'm busy. I've went through 2 burnouts, and I was like, far out. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do, right? And I started to take a different approach. Right. I was lucky enough that I found the a different approach, a natural momentum that's different to this reactive way of looking at life. So I'm now passionate about sharing that with other people, and also with young people. I think it's one of the most important things that should be included in education is this, because we don't know it. I mean, when I think about it, I got to second year university in optometry before I actually found out how my body worked. I went to second year uni, so I would have been, 20, something like that, before I actually worked out that I had an intestine and because I just didn't know, right? Nobody told me, because I didn't do those subjects. I did all the maths and physics and chemistry and all that kind of stuff, and I just didn't do that. Just didn't know, let alone emotions, and the fact that emotions are driving my decisions, and that I'm having these loopy thoughts. And unless I stop that and do something different, I'm just going to keep recreating the same problems with the same solutions and just looping my life, right? So I want to just find out before we move on, because we're kind of at that, almost halfway point. Who's been there, or who's there right now at that point that I'm describing? Who's familiar with it? I'd love to know. I've got some hands up. Oh, most hands up. Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. It's true. I remember when I was in my 20s, actually considering, realizing that all these people went through a midlife crisis, right? And I was like, okay, so if it's a midlife crisis and everyone seems to go through it, maybe it's actually normal, right? Maybe it's actually part of a normal development, right? I wonder, why is it a crisis if everyone's going through it? Does everyone go, oh yeah, I'm having this child is having a walking crisis, or they're having a sitting crisis because they're suddenly starting to walk, right? Or they're having I don't know, a primary school crisis because they're suddenly going to high school. Like, I don't know. But that's what I'm seeing, and I'm wondering whether this is just my personal opinion, whether this is actually what it's about, right? This kind of midlife reassessment of going, okay, so up until now, and it comes at different ages, right? Midlife reassessment can happen at 25 for some people. I've seen it. But this time when we go, okay, I've lived my life this way up until now, and it hasn't got me to where I want. So what do I need to do differently? What do I need to do differently? So I'm going to give you some visuals. So what we do in the early years, just to lead into the next part of the session, is we actually peg ourselves on a specific diameter, right? We make up these beliefs about ourselves, our level of ability, our level of capability, based on the messages that we're getting from the people around us in the world, how successful we are. And a lot of this actually happens, unfortunately, as a result of that early development, right? So if someone, for example, happens to be raised in a caravan, so they never get to crawl, they're going to be a bit more clumsy, and they're going to peg themselves on a certain diameter circle based on that, right? It's not truth. It's not based on truth of their real ability. But if they happen to bump into things or not do so well at school, they kind of go, okay, this is where I'm at, right? This is the level of my ability. And then, of course, what happens is we tend to just go round and round on that diameter circle. And as we go round and round on that diameter circle, we do have some emotional changes, right? So sometimes we get excited about something. We go, yeah, I've got this idea. But then we kind of go, oh, no, it's not going to happen, right? So we oscillate between either excitement and anticipation or anxiety, and then disappointment or depression, right? When things don't happen. So we think we're getting somewhere. You think that you're doing stuff towards something, but actually you're just oscillating. You're just going, expanding and then contracting in the same diameter circle. And it's based on what you believe about yourself and your place in the world. Now, the silly thing is, and the sad thing is, but also great thing, once you know it, is that you think that this is the diameter circle, but actually it's more like this. Right? So compared to your full potential, right? So you think you're expanding to your comfort zone, to your true potential, and then it doesn't happen. So you constrict, and then you're expanding back to, your edges and your true potential, and then constrict. But actually what you're doing is playing in this tiny little field compared to your actual level of possibility. Right? Because in nature, you're not in a diameter circle, right? Nature is expansive. So when you constrict a spring, it actually wants to uncoil, right? It doesn't want to stay constricted. You don't want to stay constricted. Your heart, your soul do not want to stay constricted. They've been root bound. They've been in this pot of your beliefs. But actually, this is what wants to happen. Right? Your whole being actually wants to expand. So you've got this dilemma, because your soul is wanting to do these things. It wants to grow bigger. It wants to bring your visions closer to you. Right? The world's already doing it, but your thoughts and your beliefs about yourself are stopping it. So why does that happen? It's because when you've got this diameter circle, if everyone can see this, right, the amount of effort that it takes to do something, to change inside that circle, you can see that there's a lot of loops of the spiral that are inside that circle. It looks chaotic, looks like there's a lot of work to do, and potentially with not a lot of results, right? And this here is where most people stop, right? They go, oh, I had this idea, but I started to work towards it, but it's just not happening. I'm putting all this work in and I'm just not getting there. And then they reach the point of their, what they believe is their truth, their true level of ability, and constrict, right? They recoil, they go back. They buy back into the thought feeling loops, right? Because the thought feelings, I'm just going to move this across, excuse me, because the thought feeling loops, it's actually a straight line, right? You're just going back and forth, thoughts and emotions, thoughts and emotions, thoughts and emotions. So what's the way out? How do you create this momentum? How do you create this natural, how do you allow the natural momentum, I should say? Because momentum doesn't actually need to be created. As I said at the start, it already exists. It's already there. It's inherent in every idea, right? Every idea, even the thought of it, we know now, it's a scientific fact that everything is energy and vibration. So just having a thought, just having an idea is already putting energy towards it, which means that idea is already expanding. So what does it need from you? How do you then take it from that idea into creating what you want in life? How do you allow it to expand? How do you not stop it? Well, you know how I showed you the line? There's the thoughts and the feelings, and it's a straight line, right? It looks like a loop, so that, you know, we kid ourselves. This is the loopy thoughts, right? That's why it's crazy. We kid ourselves that we're on a loop and that we're actually doing stuff, but actually we're just oscillating back and forth. Now, what you do? How do you turn a line into something that's actually forward motion? You bring in a third factor. Bring in the third factor. So what's that? Let's pop it in the chat. Have a guess. What's the third factor? I'm just going to get another mozzie off my back while you do that. What is it? Wisdom, intuition, yeah, good guesses. What else? We've got wisdom in the chat, intuition, trust, yeah. Let go of the need to know. And knowing your true end result, the truth of your heart. Action comes after. So yes, you do want the action to derive from this third factor. Absolutely. And you do need to take it. And it is one of the factors, actually. So well done. So yes, this is what it is. And all of those are correct on some level, and some of them are closer to how I want to put it. Pause, breathe, provide space. Yes, it's a strategy, I guess, to get to this third factor. And perseverance. Yeah, it's also one of the ways that we make things happen. Yeah. Yeah, so all of the things you've put in the chat are factors, right? So now I'm going to show you what my take on it is, and you'll see that all of them fit in there somewhere. And alignment, another person in the chat. So here's my take on it. Bear with me while I do this technology thing. Here we go. So we had the line. Now I've got a triangle. Now I'm sure everyone's heard of body, mind, spirit, right? It's one of those, you know, throwaway phrases almost. We go, yeah, body, mind, spirit festival, blah, 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 you know. I have body, mind, and spirit. How does it fit into this? Okay, the way that I see it is that when you have a result that is derived from the heart, from your spirit, right? So again, scientific fact, we now know that the heart actually has a brain of its own. The heart has a mind. And look, I could talk about this for a long time, about the heart and as an organ and how it's formed and all that kind of stuff. I won't go into it because it's an hour masterclass. However, we all know that we have a heart. And yes, it's an organ, but amongst it, there's the heart center, right? It's an ancient wisdom. There's an energy center in our body around the heart. I mean, we all know it, right? When you feel hurt, when somebody says something, you know, you go, oh, right? You feel it in your heart. But also when you feel joy, you also feel it in your heart a lot of the time, not always, but we know that we've got these energy centers, right? And there's other ones, you know, you might feel your anxiety around your navel or whatever it is, and fear in your throat or whatever it is, right? But we all agree, it's a scientific fact, it's been measured, that a human body consists of these energy centers, and the heart is one of them. And the heart has a mind of its own, if you like. So the way that I see it is when you have a result that's derived from your heart, and we won't go into how to do that. Oh, we will a little bit at the end, right? But let's just assume that you can derive a result from your heart, and that you know the difference between a result that's true for you, right? That's true for your soul. That's the truth of something that you have to express in the world, as opposed to the mind thing where you're heading towards pleasure or away from pain, right? Which is how your nervous system is wired. It's our default to always be in survival mode, right? To be either heading towards pleasure or away from pain, just like Dr. Bruce Lipton's amoeba, and all those experiments. So let's assume that you know the difference between just heading towards pleasure and an actual heart-based truth. So when you have that at the top of the triangle, and then the heart informs the mind. So rather than the mind just sitting there analyzing your emotions, right, that are the physical expression of your body, of your reactions to the environment, right? So rather than the mind just analyzing the body and it being a straight line between the body and the mind, you are now bringing the heart in. You've got a result that's from the heart, from your soul, that's your truth. And now the heart is guiding the mind. So the heart is now you're engaging the mind to serve that. And you're going, okay, so this is the result that I'd love to create from the heart. And the heart says, okay, mind, what might be an obvious step towards that? And then the mind comes up with that step, and then it tells the body, it then drives the body and goes, okay, body, take the action. Have we got that? Am I making sense? Cool. Well, it's always good to check, because I don't know. I know what's going on in here, right? But I don't know how you're receiving it. It makes me think of this a quote that I heard from a dad. Yeah, a dad of a 6-year-old. And the dad was, just as a little aside, the dad was trying to teach the 6-year-old some maths or something like that. And this little boy says, Dad, I know we're in the same room and I know you're saying some stuff, but I don't think I'm learning what you're trying to teach. Right? A 6-year-old. I know we're in the same room and I know you're saying some stuff, but I don't think I'm learning what you're trying to teach. So, it's always good to check, right? It's always vulnerable to run these sessions because I go, I know what I'm saying, but are you getting it? So I'd love to know just a bit of feedback. Can someone show me, if you're getting it, can you go like that? If you're not getting it, can you go like that? And if you're somewhere in between, can you kind of, okay, looks like I'm making sense. Excellent. Great. Thank you. Thank you. I feel validated. Now I feel like I can be serving you, right? So it's more about that. It's about going, okay, if you're following me, if you're with me, that's a great thing, because then you'll remember it. And my hope is that you'll apply it, right? So when you bring in that third factor of the heart, it's like, you've got heart communicates to the mind and mind calls the body for action. Brilliant. I love it when people take my many, many words and just put it into this lovely, concise little package. Exactly. Thank you so much for that. Right. So that the heart leads, right? The heart is the vision, the inspiration, and then the mind follows with the strategy or the structure or the next step. And you don't want to have it all planned out, right? Because you know what happens. This is how overwhelm happens, right? People go, oh, I've got to create this business, but I'm over here and I have no business skills. I have no finance skills. I don't even know how to start a business. I've just got this idea, and they think that they've got to have it all mapped out before they start. Overwhelm, right? You can't do it. So the mind follows with just the next couple of steps, right? While the heart is holding the vision. That's the heart's job, is to just hold that vision and go, that's where you're heading, but all you need to worry about is where you are and what's your next step. And this is how natural momentum happens. And I'll show you how a little bit more accurately in a moment, right? And then the body implements, right? It takes the action. And through that action, the next obvious step reveals itself, right? And then the heart goes, okay, well, here's the vision, and now we're over here. So mind, what's the obvious next step, right? And the clever mind, we don't want to get rid of the mind. I heard Sadhguru say that. Does everyone know who Sadhguru is? Yep, some people do, some not, doesn't matter. Sadhguru, the name says it all. He said something like, why would you, he's a meditation person. And someone was saying, how do I, shut down my mind? I can't meditate because my mind keeps going. How do I shut it down? And he says, why would you want to? I'm not going to try and do an Indian accent. Why would you want to get rid of the mind? Right? We've gone through this evolution to create this amazing mind. Why would you want to get rid of it? It's about using it, right? It's about leveraging it. It's about using it to serve the heart, to serve your heart's desires. So we've got the vision. The heart's job is to hold the vision. The mind's job is to let you know where you're at, the truth of that, and what's the obvious next step. And you can see how then a natural momentum happens, just like that baby, toddler, young child going through all the developmental stages naturally, because they gather the skills as they go. So by the time they're running the marathon, right, if a newborn was told, hey, you're going to run a marathon one day, it would have gone, what? No, I don't even, like, I go like, I think I'm going to do this with my hand and it goes over there and whacks me in the face. Like, I'm not going to run a marathon, right? But you can see how nature's got it. Nature's got you. The moment you have that vision, nature's got you. And all you've got to worry about is, what's my next step? Because then you're building the skill levels. And once you've got these foundations, you can build bigger and bigger things on top of them, right? So that's how natural momentum happens. You don't create it, you allow it. And how do you allow it? By using the mind to serve the heart rather than to loop, right? So when you've got the heart and the mind aligned, you get this constructive interference, because remember, everything's vibration and energy, right? So they're vibrating. So if they're in coherence, again, this is science. There's been a lot of research done on this in the past few years. When they're in coherence, then I don't know if there's any other physics nerds here, but you get constructive interference, right? So when you've got one wave of this amplitude and another one, you actually get a wave of double the amplitude. When you've got the mind working against the heart, so your soul's going, I would really love this lifestyle, and your mind's going, yeah, but you've got a really good job. And if you throw that in, what are you going to do for money? Blah, 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 blah. And your family's going to think you're crazy. And, whatever it is, right? It's just one example. So when your mind is working against the heart, you're getting destructive interference, right? And you feel stuck. So constructive interference, natural momentum. Destructive interference, you feel stuck. So this is the craziness of it, right? Because what happens is that it can feel as though you're moving somewhere, you're going somewhere, when you're actually stuck, when you're actually on the same diameter loop, because you're doing a lot. And you're seeing results, right? So let's say, I'm laughing because I know I've done this. So let's say you've got this vision that you'd really love to serve people with a specific thing. So let's say using art to for anxiety, right? Because it's something that helped you and you really want to do it, but you're actually an engineer, right? And you're like, okay, all these people are going to think I'm crazy, but you have this opportunity to speak at an event where you get to express that. So let's say you're in your bedroom, or I don't know, sitting on the toilet, and you have this inspiration, go, wow, or you're looking at your phone, right? And you go, wow, there's this event, I could speak at it. And you go, okay, I'm gonna send the application. So you walk towards your desk, to sit at the laptop and send off that email, send off the application. And on the way to your desk, you walk past a table.
You're frozen.
I'm frozen. Okay, hang on. All right, I'm back now. Excellent. Thank you, Bali Internet. Good. So, Ed, can you tell me the last thing that you heard?
So you're setting off towards your desk, towards your laptop.
Okay.
You have this idea.
Excellent. So you're heading towards your desk and you notice that somebody's left a glass on the table, right? And you go, oh, okay. So you pick it up and that reminds you that you wanted a drink, that you're thirsty. So you go to the fridge, you open the fridge, you notice that there's some old food in the fridge and you go, oh, that shelf's a bit dirty. And before you know it, you're cleaning out the fridge. And then you go, oh, now that the fridge's clean, maybe I should defrost the freezer. Who's been there? Right? 3 weeks later, you get the email going, application's closed, and here's our speaker lineup. And you're like, oh, crap, I missed it. Right? You get distracted, almost distracted. And it's true, right? The distractions are your destruction. You get distracted by life. Because what we do is we tend to deal with what comes up, right? Rather than looking to our heart and going, now, what was my vision again, right? Every single day going, now, what was my vision? What was it that I wanted? Oh, okay. Did I head towards it today? No. Okay. I'm going to make sure I do so next time, right? We totally forget what we were going for. We forget. We get distracted by life. We end up dealing with the neighbor's dog having to go to the vet, or someone needs you all of a sudden, right? And they can't do without you because we believe that people are powerless, right? And that we have to help them because we have to be good people. It's not true. Everyone's powerful. It's not to say that you can't help people, right? But not instead of going for your heart. It's a distraction. Now, why do we lose focus like that? Simple. Again, I'm going to give you some visuals. We lose focus because, first of all, as per this one, it seems overwhelming. It seems like there's so much to do, right? So people normally don't just go, okay, what's the next step? They kind of go, oh my God, there's so much I've got to learn. There's so much I've got to do. And they actually do the things that they think they need to do before they can get the results they want, right? They make the big list. The other thing that happens is you've got this thing that you love, right? And you've got where you are in the center of this of the circle, right? So you've got this vision of yourself inside that pot, and then your heart is calling you over here towards what you love. The thing is that there's also fear that's calling you back towards that same diameter circle. And while the heart whispers, your fear screams. It's the louder voice. It's how we're designed. So if you're listening to the fear and you're allowing all those thoughts to loop, there's absolutely no way you're going to hear the voice of your heart. You're going to miss that whisper, right? You're just going to forget about it. You're going to shut it out because it's uncomfortable, makes you feel uncomfortable knowing that you're not following your heart, right? So you buy into fear. And it means that you're keeping yourself on that same diameter circle. But what you can do instead is spiral. Right? So here's the choice. Do you loop or do you spiral? Because what happens in a spiral, and you can see this is actually a picture of the Fibonacci sequence. Right. Again, I won't go into it, but I ran a masterclass on natural momentum and Fibonacci. I've actually run a few masterclasses on the Fibonacci. And the idea of the Fibonacci is that it's the most natural way for things to grow, which is why it's seen in nature over and over again. And it's just based on the principle that each step is the sum of the two steps before it. So the Fibonacci sequence is where each number is simply the sum of the two numbers that came before it. So can you see now what I mean when I say that the moment you have an idea, there's already energy going towards it, and there's already momentum building towards it. And if you take that step one and then another step one, then you've got a foundation for a step the size of two. And then once you've got that one, you've got the skills, you've got the foundations for the next step. Right? And you can see that as that grows, the thing about the Fibonacci sequence is that the first 8 steps or so are like 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, right? So you've taken 8 steps and you've only got from 1 to 21. But the next 8 steps, can you see that? Because step 9 gets you from 21 to 34. Step 10 gets you from 34 to 55. Step 11, you're already at 89, right? So once you've gone through the first 8 steps, you've got the foundations, you've got the skills to then go from 21 to 89 in just 3 steps, and so on from there. Right? But the sad thing is that most people give up before they get to that really big growth, because it's scary, right? And also because they base what they think of their capability, they base their idea of what they're capable of on their opinion of themselves. So what's the key? The key is to know that your opinion of yourself doesn't matter. What you think of yourself has absolutely nothing to do with your actual ability. What you think of yourself is based on what you made up when you were a little child, when you were powerless, when you had to ask for permission, when you weren't allowed to do things, when you couldn't make decisions. Right? That's where what your opinion of yourself is based on. And I was actually recently speaking with a script writer, a Polish script writer that I actually randomly met at Yosemite National Park last year. It's one of those random meetings, right? Where we're at this place and these 2 guys come up and one of them says, "Oh, would you like us to take a photo of you on this beautiful rock on top of after a 2 or 3 hour climb?" And we went, "Yeah, sure." And the other guy says, "Oh, did you know that you just had a photo taken by a film director?" Anyway, we got chatting, turned out that they were Polish and I was raised in Poland. And, so anyway, I was having a chat with him because he asked me to look at a script that he'd written. And he was sharing that he saw a movie or read a book or something like that about Steven Spielberg, where Steven Spielberg says that he still thinks when he releases a film, he goes, "What if nobody wants to see it? What if nobody comes?" Right? There's so much evidence that, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Right? And yet there's still this part of us in everybody that still goes, "Yeah, I'm not that good." Right? So if you base your actions on that, if you base your decisions on your thoughts, your feelings, your opinion of yourself, of trying to move towards pleasure and away from pain, on those instincts, which are fear-based, as opposed to intuition, which is heart-based, if you base your decisions and actions on those, you will only ever stay in the loop. You will keep turning around the same diameter circle, same problems, same solutions, same life, right? Maybe different. You're just moving the furniture around in the same room. It might look different setting, different characters, but it's the same movie over and over again, right? That's all you're doing. On the other hand, when you use your intuition as opposed to the fear-based instinct, when you tap into your heart's desires, when you tap into the greater information field of what's possible, and you become aware of the fact that what you thought was your whole world, right, and your level of capability is actually this tiny little thing compared to what's actually possible for you, then you can kind of go, oh, okay, when you get that bigger vision, that's when things really start to happen. That's when you're allowing that natural momentum to unfold, right? And that's when magic happens. And I don't mean, let's pull a rabbit out of a hat kind of magic, but it appears like magic, right? Because all of a sudden, once you're at 89 on that Fibonacci, all of a sudden you just make one phone call and something happens, synchronicity happens, and bang, you're at 134 and you're like, wow, okay, I didn't think it was going to happen this way. So here you are. I think it was John Lennon that said, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. So I've had these instances where here I am, and I'm trained in this work. I teach it, I live it, right? And still here I am with my heart-based end result and knowing what I'm doing in my next step, but still my mind's gone, oh yeah, this is how I think it's going to come about, right? That linear thinking. And then if something comes out of left field and I actually go, oh, I don't want to deal with that, right? And then more times than not, I mean, I don't know the opportunities that I've missed. I never will. But I know the times that I've realized that I've gone, oh, no, this is actually the magic, the synchronicity. This is actually the step that isn't the linear, that's actually going to get me from here to here really quickly. Right? I can actually close the gap. I can create time. I can bend space. I can bend time, because in my mind, I'm thinking that I've got to take all these, I'm going to go on this side, all these steps to get from here to here, right? That there's the gap between where I am and where I'm going. But in reality, it's like that. And it just takes that one intuitive hit to go, hey, send off that message or go to that place today, right? That kind of intuition to go, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I'll listen to that. Maybe I'll do that. And all of a sudden I wake up and I go, oh, there's my result, right? So here I am thinking that I'm heading that way, but it actually comes about in an unexpected way. Now, the thing about that is that in a way it has to. Because think about it. If you want to create something different in your life, if you want to create something new that you don't already know, it has to come about in a new way, right? If it comes about exactly how you thought it was going to happen, then it's your mind leading your body and the heart's out of it. Now, when you tap into the heart, because the heart, the energetic field of the heart is connected to the universal field. And so is your mind when you tap into that whisper. The slide where I said that love speaks and whispers, right? Your fear and all of that screams at you, right? So if you can just, it's not about getting distracted and going, oh, I've got to quieten the screams. I've got to quieten my mind. I've got to get rid of my anxiety. No, you don't do any of that. You just allow it to be there. You just go, oh, okay, yep, I know that that's happening. And also at the same time, you're a clever human being. You can do two things at once. So you can be aware of that. The coherent heart creates a coherent brain. Yes. So you can be aware of that scream and at the same time be aware of that whisper, right? And all it takes is intention. That's all it takes. So let's do a little exercise to complete. So what I'd love for you to do is think of a problem that you're having right now. Everyone's got a problem, no matter how big or how small. Just think of a problem, jot it down if you like, or just keep it in the forefront of your mind. And as you become aware of that problem, just become aware of all the thoughts around it and just jot down 3, 4, 5 of them. Or pop them in the chat, better yet, if you feel okay to share. The chat's not going to go out with the recording, so the chat will stay in this space. But if you feel to, what are some of the thoughts, some of the thinking you're having around it? If you get emotions, pop that in as well. So what's your linear thing that's going on? What's your oscillating reaction to it? Yeah, fear and doubt, not knowing what's next. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to make the chat visible to me. So keep popping stuff in the chat and I'll just read them out without putting any names on them. Yeah. Worry. Yeah, the fear of making mistakes. Yeah. Am I in the right place at the right time? Yeah. So, all of this stuff goes on, right? We've got all this chatter that goes on. So just be aware of that. Just be aware that that's happening. And now, just at the same time as you're aware of all these thoughts and any emotions that come to them, just focus on your heart space. And just notice how when you're breathing, your ribs are expanding and contracting. You can close your eyes or just gently look ahead. And also just become aware that there's energy around the heart, that it's an energetic field. Maybe it's got a color, maybe a glow, a shimmer. Just allow it to occur to you, however it looks to you. And just set an intention that you will get some information. What does your heart already know about this? So just ask the question, what does my heart know? And just make a note of that. And then what I'd love is for you to notice the difference and pop that in the chat. What's the difference in the quality of the guidance? What's the difference in the quality of the information? And quality can mean as in, the star rating, right? But also quality as in what's the quality of it? What's the excited for the future? Yeah. Excitement. And and expansiveness. Yeah. Similar information, but the heart space is calm and open. Yeah. And this easeful feeling, right? So it's a different quality of information, as in it's better quality information because it's coming from the heart, not from fear. It's coming from a place of creating more of what you love in your life. But it's also got a different quality about it, right? So even if it's similar information, you're still getting a, lighter, brighter kind of, let go, be true to yourself. It's taken care of, right? And this is what I really want you to take away from this, is that this is available to you all the time. So whatever you're going for, right, whether you are thinking of leaving your job and starting a business, which is a it's probably one of the biggest steps that I see people take, that evokes the biggest fear, because there's all the judgment from other people and all of that. And then there's the self-doubt, am I capable of doing this? And all of those things, right? So whether it's something like that, or whether it's a different quality of relationship that you'd love, or, a different place that you'd love to live, or whatever it is in your life, right? This is available to you. Your heart knows. And there is this natural momentum already building towards it because you want it, because you love it. And every time you think about it, that momentum's building. But it's not going to build, someone mentioned that before, without you taking the action steps towards it, right? So if you stay over here and you keep doing the same things, that tension is just going to sit there. Momentum is not going to build. So you do need that heart, mind, body triangle, because it's only the actions that actually then start that expansive triangle, that expansive loop, the expansive spiral building, right? It's actually allowing that momentum, that natural momentum, to come around. So how do you know when to, because this was the question that I posed in the post around this, right? How do you know when to pivot, when to change tack, and when to keep going? The answer is really simple. If the result you're going for is from your heart, then you keep going until you get it. It's as simple as that. And if it's not from your heart, realize that and stop right now. No, that's it. That's it. Because you're wasting your time. No, you're doing a whole heap of stuff that ends up in regret. What was that nurse's name? Bronnie Ware, that interviewed all the, it's quite a big thing now, but I remember when I first heard about it, she just released a book of the biggest regrets of the dying. And the number one is, I wish I lived a life more true to myself rather than the life that others expected of me. And nobody, as far as I know, well, it wasn't in the top 10 anyway, nobody said, I wish I'd spent more time doing the stuff that I didn't really want to do. I wish I'd spent more time cleaning out my fridge, right? Nobody said that. I wish I'd had a cleaner fridge and the corners of my house were more tidy, right? Nobody. So that's it, right? So that's it from me. There are a couple of more things that I want to tell you about, because of course some of you have worked with me before, some of you haven't. So I know some of you have come from various. This is the first masterclass that I've put out to various communities, I guess, and the recordings will be going out to various communities. So if this is something that you're going, yeah, wow, I want more of this, there's two ways that it can happen. If you go to intuitivewisdomacademy.com, you can get some really foundational intuition training for literally $5 a month. It's a community. We've got lots of facilitators. We've got a free intuition one-on-one course in there, intuitivewisdomacademy.com. You just join up and there you go. Now, if you have a business, want to start a business, are thinking about it, or you're wanting to grow it, you want to leverage this natural momentum, and you're interested in our business momentum program, which, yes, we've started, but we're actually going to do the first 5 weeks again in an intensive at the end of August, and we're going to start the longer program at the beginning of September, right? So it's not too late. So if you'd like any of that, pop business in the chat or reply to the email. You'll all get an email with the recording. So all you need to do is just hit reply and say, I'm interested in the business program, and blah, 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 or anything else, any other questions. Again, reply to the email that you'll receive, and I can take you through it, map out the next obvious step from wherever you are to wherever you'd love to go. So thanks everybody for being here, and thank you to all of you watching the recording. I know it's not the best time of day for those in the US, and also not the best time of day for parents in Australia, dinner time and all of that. And also for those in the UK, it's in the middle of a work day. So if you're watching the recording, all of that applies to you as well. So thank you, everybody. Lots of love to you all. Now, it's a bit of a tradition in our community to unmute yourselves and say goodbye to each other, so that you can just connect and hear each other speak rather than just listening to me talk. So go for it.
Thank
Bye, everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Places.
Bye.
Nice meeting
Thanks,
everybody. Miss,
everybody.
thank you for the invite.
Pleasure,
Thank
Lauren.
you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Good and accent.